The Nissan Nation podcast is a presentation of DRB and KGB Media.
Recorded live, coast to coast, it's the Nissan Nation podcast. From camping, racing, and all points in between. The NNP is your Nissan Nation podcast. Now start your engines and welcome in the hosts, David and Danny.
What is going on, Nissan Nation? From all things Nissan here in Middle Tennessee to wherever you are in the globe, this is the Nissan Nation podcast. My name is David Boyd. I'm glad to have you on this special episode. This is our big Thanksgiving episode, and it's something I did an interview I did with Mr. Derrick Metz a few weeks ago now. We're picking up kind of his trip across to Alaska, and just seeing where Derrick takes us, man. Derrick's always an interesting fellow, and I do love having the hours that we've put into this show of kind of going over his trip, man. It's been well over a year now for Derrick, and he's settled into his normal life, I guess, as you could say. Right now, he's always planning something. We'll get to that in just a minute, but I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody. This is going to launch the day before Thanksgiving. Everybody, please have safe travels and think of others on the road, and just be careful. And I know some people like to party and stuff, which is cool around Thanksgiving, but please, if you're going to drink, please do not drive. I say it every holiday, and I mean it, man. I don't want to see anybody get hurt and accidents happen. There's no way around it. But please be safe in these holiday times. And also, if you're a kind person, like I think most of our listeners are, if you'll do something special this holiday season and maybe pick up a $20 gift card at your local shopping place, whether it be a Kroger's, Meijer's, I don't know, all across the country, what people call their food depots, as we'll say. If I like to do my part for my community, and I think Kelly, and if you're on my Facebook, you'll see we really do try to give back where we can. And I'm not much on people on the side of the road. I never feel secure with where their money goes or what they're doing with it. But what I do love doing is food banks and stuff like that. Most of the time, these food banks, they get a big push around the holiday season, and then they don't get anything, and then it's the rest of the year, whether it's a little kid or somebody, home without a meal. I'm big on helping with some after school stuff here. I like to get some gift cards or just literally supplies, and I've done it in the past, and just help people that maybe just need a boost in life, whatever reason it is, whether it's just some kind of abuse of the system or just whatever. Please in this time of the holiday season and giving and stuff, if you'll do that for me, man, we are going to be best buddies. I'm a sucker for helping people, man, and I don't give a damn what your political deal is or whatever. We just all need to be kind to each other, and instead of posting some what you feel on somebody's Facebook page, and if you'll just take a step back over this holidays, man, and just breathe and know, we've got a president that I know some people didn't like, some people do. There's no way around it. It's coming. But if you'll just, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, just breathe, guys. We're going to get through this, and we're going to have lots more time to talk Nissan cars. So what I want to do right now is, before I give you the turkey dinner as it be when Derrick, I want to say thank you to everybody who has bought something through Amazon.com, and I'm sure you guys are like, great, another Amazon ad. That's just what I was hoping for. And we got to feed the beast a little bit, guys. And I'll just be honest, we don't collect a ton on Amazon. What we do generally goes right back into hosting the show. Sometimes we have a little extra that I can buy some cool shirts or whatever for me and Dan, so we look super professional, as a person said on YouTube. watching our video last year in California, told us, and it was funny. I was watching some guy filming us, his own little web show, and he was like, man, these guys, they're super professional. You know, they got a camera crew behind them, and they've got shirts. And so my hat's off to you guys for allowing us to look so professional, as that YouTuber said. But, you know, we got to feed the beast here. And like I said, the show probably earns $300-$400 on its own through Amazon. And I know it sounds like a lot, but web hosting, podcast hosting, and all this stuff, it does add up. And we want to say we are greatly, greatly appreciative to everybody who's done this. And this holiday season, it means a lot to us that last year, I know we got a big boost in money, and it allowed us to do a few things with it. But if you're going to shop on Amazon, and hey, we all do it. Hell, we got Amazon Prime now, man, with the Grand Tour that me and Danny talked about the other day. If you'll just go through our link at www.nissannationpodcast.com, and if you look towards the bottom, you'll see some links to a hat and a light, and I forget what else I got down there that I need to change. Just click it. You don't have to buy those items, but when you click it and you do your normal shopping, Amazon gives us 2 to 4%, something like that, as a kickback for just them knowing where you came from. That's it. That's all Amazon wants to know. And with that, you know, you just do your normal shopping. You know, whether it be for toothpicks, you know, cowbells, whatever you need, I don't care, man. And I get to see kind of what people buy, but I don't know who buys what. So it's always interesting, and that's a great thing. It livens my day up to see what some of you people buy. But click the link and show us some love. We like I said before, we really, really appreciate everything everybody's done. People like Chema, our longtime listener, he's boosted us so many times when he did his SaaS project, and he was buying through Amazon like crazy. And like I said, we don't get rich on it. We're not trying to. We're just trying to deliver some free, funny misinformation, whatever we call this, whatever we do is what we're doing. So thank you guys. And now let's get to Mr. Derrick Metz. Derrick, if you've listened to the past couple interviews we've done with him, you can see we're trying to get him to Alaska each interview. And with Derrick, this show, it can't just be an hour show and here I got to Alaska, because if you've listened to the previous couple, it's just crazy what, you know, how Derrick decided to do this trip and the adventure he had just in the lower 48. You know, I'm not talking about trying to get, like, when he gets to Alaska and the adventures he has. Just, it seems like from Tennessee to Denver was more adventure than probably most of us are going to have, just with the interesting people he met and the things that have went wrong for him. But this, and, you know, I planned a show out, and I kind of try to plan an interview. I know I'm horrible at it, guys, but I really do try to plan, like, where I want the conversation to go. But with Derrick, sometimes it's just going to go where it goes, which is super cool at this time, because we let the conversation go, and it really led us down an interesting path of just more overlanding. And we kind of hit his trip a little bit, but it led us down this path of where things you don't think about, you know. I mean, yeah, everybody thinks, okay, you got to have some kind of tent, maybe a trailer. You're going to need food, you know, maybe a few supplies of something that breaks or stuff. But we started breaking this down of it's more than that, man. And we started talking about a budget a little bit, because Derrick didn't have just like a, you know, here's my ATM card. You know, he had a savings line just for his gas, just for fuel expenses. He had one account. The next one, he had like an emergency account. Then he had his normal account, and he starts talking about how he broke this down, and just things you know, I mean, I'm a weekend adventurer, but where I'm never too far from a Walmart if I need something. But you know, Derrick's trip, he talks about it. There's times where he probably didn't talk to anybody in a week, you know, and so you need to be prepared. And of course, we all have luxuries in life, you know, whether it be a beer or cigarettes or colas, whatever. We break that down a little bit, and it's interesting. Things I would have never thought about, how how Derek starts talking how it impacts, the trip. And when you've got just a small either window to get you somewhere to pick up your next supplies, or if it's just I don't know. He talks about like how hard it was to find certain things, and then like a cola might be a luxury item that you may not see for several days. And so let's get to Derek and just see where this conversation goes. And once again, we appreciate you guys listening. Hope you have a safe and happy holidays. And here is Mr. Derrick Metz. All right, we are back for round 3, isn't it, Derek?
Yes.
It's been a while since we've talked to Derek, but we're here to see if we can get to Alaska this time, man. Last time we kind of left off, you'd had some transmission problems. I guess you had to put a new clutch in your truck and
yeah, clutch and all that, bearing, blah blah blah, transmission crap.
Right. So you don't really budget for those kind of things when you're on one of these trips, do you?
This is how I set up the budget for my trip. I had gas as its own, like food, blah blah, like laundry, campsites for like occasionally every other week or so. And then I even budgeted like a hotel if I needed it. And then I had literally a bank account, which the name on the bank account was "Oh shit." Like literally, it's called "Oh shit." So every time a banker reads it, they're like, how about your bank account? And they can't say it. They're
right.
like, I'm like, yeah, that one. Yeah. But
well,
I just had a sum of money in there for emergency repairs. So it was budgeted, but not budgeted.
Break that down a little bit, man. I don't think we've talked about this. When you were planning this trip, obviously you had to plan your vehicle and everything, but there is a financial thing to this, man, that most people probably don't. Like most people when they go on vacations or something, you never seem to plan enough money for what all you want to do. How did you what was your thought about money-wise with this?
Like, well, for like gas, it was pretty easy because I had pretty much the whole route planned out, added 10% on the mileage, the miles, and then I estimated my actual miles to the gallon at 10, and which ended up being fairly accurate. I figured out basically average gas price in North America, which is available online, and did the math, and then added 20% to that, just trying to be a little extra safe. And for fuel, I was pretty accurate. Now, for like all the other stuff, you just kind of look and go, okay, laundry. How often am I going to do laundry?
Right.
Coin machines are around this, where I'm at. So let's add a little extra because in the remote areas of Alaska and Northwest Territory, I'm sure it's double. And then you got the whole Canadian dollar thing. And for campsites, average campsites, probably $10-15 where it's primitive. And you're like, okay, I'll stay in a campsite once a week or once every other week. Calculate out how many weeks you want out. That's that amount. And so forth. The hardest thing was the major repairs. Like, you can't calculate out what's going to break.
Right.
You just have to go, I have this much dollars extra.
Right.
So if I start going over that on repairs, my trip has to start getting shorter.
Right.
So time-wise and distance-wise.
But I know you put some planning into this trip, but it was fairly fast-paced once this got moving of everything you had to do, man. So, you're building your trailer. At some point, you've got to sit there and think about the money thing. Then you've got to think about, logistics and what do I need to carry. I can't even imagine the stress of just one of those, let alone, the 3 or 4 things you got to think about.
Yeah, there was a lot, and thank goodness I'm an engineer, and thank goodness I like spreadsheets. I have spreadsheets upon spreadsheets with just tabs and tabs and tabs for everything from, I got a spreadsheet for battery selection. I got a spreadsheet for solar panel selection.
Right.
Like just everything. And I mean, my job kind of allowed me to, because at the time I was working, and I was working offshore, so I would be offshore for 2 weeks, on land for 2 weeks. So my time on land, literally all I would do was build.
Well, I think though,
get supplies locally.
Commitment wise, though, most Americans, man, if I get like a 2 days downtime, I'm looking at my PlayStation or something. I'm looking to zone out a little bit. How did you keep focused?
It's just who I am. Like, I don't know. I don't watch a lot of TV. I don't play video games anymore.
Right.
Even to this day, like right now, like earlier today, I was out at my shop repairing my Xterra once again, and then after that, I just jumped right into the other project I'm working on for myself, and it's just like, that's what I enjoy doing. I don't have that sit around, relax, play games, watch TVs, watch movies.
Right.
Yeah, once it's 11 o'clock at night, I'll come home and watch a movie or two.
Sure. But so downtime, I mean, you don't like downtime, basically.
No, I get bored real easy. If I'm staying at home and it's raining outside and I can't go anywhere to work on something, I literally sit on the internet and just research these things. Like,
right.
Like I'll research a small block Chevy, just figure out what eras they changed, what pistons, what this, how do you figure this out for compression, and I just research that stuff,
Right.
That's just kind of what I enjoy. So when I was offshore and we were slow, I was just researching teardrop campers, off-road trailers, batteries, solar panels, axles, and then also there's a lot of lists out there for overlanding. So you kind of just look at the list, pull off what you want, make your own. Look at another one, pull off what you want, make your own. Because
so it gave you ideas, though, basically of how to budget for this.
Yeah, because you're not going to think of everything to bring. But other people who've done these trips or have been on a trip or are going to go on a trip that's 2 years long, they plan for 2 years, 5 years. So they've thought of a lot more. So you can be like, yeah, I need this is awesome spatula. It acts as a knife and a can opener or whatever it is.
Everything's got to be dual purpose, right?
Yeah, yep. And one of the there was a couple I met before I went on my trip, and they were actually going on a 2-year bicycle trip down through South America. And their number one rule was every time they picked something up that they wanted to bring, if it didn't have 3 to 4 purposes that they could actively name that something else didn't currently do, they wouldn't bring it.
Wow.
Like, because weight was so limited on them. And then the other thing they had to do is they actually shipped things around South America to different depots. So when they got there, they had a rain jacket because they were just in the desert for 3 months. Who needs a rain jacket?
Right.
Who wants to carry it? Now they have it for this area. Now they have spare parts, around all these places that they previously bought for better pricing.
So basically, though, when you set up your bank account or whatever for this, you had what, maybe 3 accounts, you said, or?
I had 3 accounts just for this trip.
Right.
Then I had other accounts,
Sure. Oh, sure.
And nowadays, you can open up a savings account, which is all it was, online. Don't have to go to a bank. Throw money in there. And how I saw it was, okay, I have 9 months to leave for this trip. I'm going to auto transfer out of my main account that my paycheck goes into X amount of dollars every week, every day, every month, every paycheck, it all depended, into this other account. So I knew I would have that money there. So my main account, you just watch that and go, hey, as soon as my paycheck goes in, all this money disappears. So I don't even look at that money anymore.
Right.
Now I have to live off of this. And then I also have my building bank account for my teardrop because I was saving up, but also spending it as it goes. So that one kind of fluctuated kind of crazily. So it's like, hey, I'm going to buy 10 sheets of high quality marine grade plywood, and then it goes down. And then you're like, hey, and then definitely when I'm offshore, I'm like, hey, look at Amazon. I have 14 boxes delivered to my apartment because I was living in one. Show up and the apartment ladies, like in the office, they had to think I was crazy because literally I would show up and they're like, that pile's yours. Those are for every other apartment in this complex. That pile's yours. You know, like.
When you go to set out for your trip, did you have like the goal? I mean, did you have the money? You were like, okay, I feel like this is what I needed to go before you left.
Yes. Yeah.
And
I had a certain amount, and I knew how long it would take me to save it. And I knew that amount I needed to do this trip. So I honestly looked and went, can I save this in a year's time? Or do I have to wait another year?
Right.
You know? And it was tight, but I saved it in that period of time. And honestly, it was probably 9 months.
Well, probably having to start budgeting and pulling away from whatever your normal living expenses probably really helps get you in the habit for your trip too, I would think.
Yes, it does. Basically people live off of their income. So if you start pulling money away and you don't even look at that money, you just learn how to live off of the rest of it. You know, so like, and I'm a cheap fuck as it is. You know, like there's a few of us in the Xterra world.
Sure.
And so I spend money where I need it, but I will not spend money on other things. You know, like, so yeah, I went out and bought a brand new Xterra off a lot, and within 3 months I time swapped it. Mm-hmm. And I bought great product to do it all. I didn't go and do the budget time swap. I did it right the first time.
Right.
But yeah, at the same time, I don't go out to eat every day of the week.
Right.
You know, I don't go to the movies. I don't go to these sporting events or concerts.
Right.
Like, you know, you spend money where I enjoy it, and other people do the same thing.
That's right, man. French fries turn into CV joints, man. So you know,
very quickly, you know.
So,
yeah, you know.
So with your budget in mind, you said did you feel like by the time your trip was over, I mean, did you feel like what you had budgeted money-wise was there? I mean, obviously you said you were pretty close with gas. What about food-wise and stuff?
By the time my trip was over, food, I think I spent a little extra. Mm-hmm. The major thing that honestly worried me, as we kind of talked in the last part, where I spent a crap load of money replacing a clutch and stuff, is because when you're down and broken down like that, you have two options. You can sit and wait and find the parts cheap and repair it, and watch the seasons change, or you can just spend the money right up front and get on the road again. Right. And I kind of had a time constraint, so I couldn't just sit for a week and like call around and be like, okay, how much do you charge? Or is there a shop I can get this? Can I order this part in from here? It takes a week, but I saved $200, you know, like, so honestly, with all the repairs adding up to this point and some in the future, there was a certain point I literally started looking at it going, am I going to be able to do this whole trip? What parts am I going to have to cut out? Where do I want to cut out? What routes do I want to change because of money?
Sure.
Because everyone knows a clutch and, you know, flywheel, all that stuff, it's not cheap, you know.
No, what you're looking, $3,500 on up maybe?
No, with labor it was about $2,000.
Oh, okay.
You know,
okay.
But still, that's
for your like, minimal life.
Part you buy to repair your vehicle is like, okay, front half shaft, you know, oh, there's $150 or $85 depending on where you get it, you know. All of a sudden it's $2,000. That's a lot of gas money.
Right.
You know?
And it starts eating away at your budget a little bit. And you got, I would think you got to start
quick.
pulling from all three accounts and going, okay, I've got to make some changes, and maybe I'm not stopping for that burger this week or something, right?
Yeah. Basically, with all my repairs, one of my goals was to go like at least once a week, you know, twice a week. When you hit that small town, hit that mom and pop like restaurant. Mm-hmm. With all my repairs I had so early on, I completely cut that out of my trip. You know, like, because there's a huge difference between cooking that meal over the campfire or the stove for $3 versus going out to eat and having that burger, that pizza, that whatever it is, you know, Mexican food for $15-$20. Like that right there allowed me to continue my trip and actually cover all the areas I wanted to originally.
What were some of the luxury items? What were the couple things like? I mean, are you a soda drinker? I mean, what were some of the things you were like, man, I need this to kind of my one little bit of happiness?
I'm a huge soda drinker, but
Right.
honestly, I cut that down to about 1 to 2 sodas a week. Like,
Wow.
I'm typically like 3 to 5 a day.
Right.
But like, yeah, or like picking up okay, I eat like a kid, but I eat like a kid without a parent around. So instead of eating like chicken nuggets and hot dogs, I eat candy bars, crackers, and animal crackers, chips, like.
Oh yeah. All your good proteins.
Yeah, all the healthy stuff. So like, I would pick up like once a week, stop in for gas, pick up literally a can of soda and a candy bar, and man, like when you haven't had that for a week and that's what you feed on,
Right.
one of the things, man, it was just luxury. Like, I would get to campsite, start up the campfire, sit there and literally just sip my soda because I don't drink anymore.
Right.
So it's like having that beer with the sunset and all that stuff,
Did you ever catch yourself just have it sit there not opened yet and just kind of looking at it going, man, I really want to just kind of savor this? And
actually, like, when you pick up 2 of them and you're like, I'll have one tonight, one tomorrow night, and you enjoy that first one so much, you look at that second one and you're like, oh, this is so perfect timing to have it.
Right.
Or like the next morning you're like, oh, I'm kind of tired. I wish I could have some caffeine, but oh man, I'll have it tonight maybe. Right. And then also lunch rolls around. You're like, nah, I'll have it now. The other thing, anyone that knows me has wheeled with me. I'm a smoker.
Right.
I'm a heavy smoker when I'm wheeling. And
we seen the chimney at Went that time. We seen it.
Like, at that time? What time? Like, every time? Every trail? Like, but, like, that was one thing. Like, I had to watch how many cigarettes, because, like, when I go wheeling, I have a tendency to just start chain smoking.
Right.
It's like, I honestly enjoy smoking cigarettes. I know it's horrible for you, and it's expensive as hell.
Right. Especially once you go up north.
It, but when I run out, you don't want to be around me. And there was a few times where I ran out for, like, 24 hours up in Canada and stuff, and everyone that knows Canada knows cigarettes aren't cheap up there.
Right.
And like, when you're going into a small town of maybe 40 people, the cigarettes are even less cheap. You're like, do I not buy them? Do I buy them? And you just break down and buy that pack. You try to make that pack. You're like, okay, I paid 4 times as much for this pack as the normal, so it has to last 4 times as long.
Right.
Just try to justify all this stuff. But like, just like.
And two, being by yourself, some of that would play with your mind just a little bit because you've got nothing to distract you.
You're in your mind 24/7. Definitely, like anyone who's been addicted to anything. Like, when you try to quit or run out and you're trying to distract yourself, okay, you turn on the TV, you're flipping channels for 3 hours because you can't find anything to focus on, but it's kind of distracting you and this and that. When you're in a vehicle, just driving, just looking at nature, and what I do is listen to podcasts and stuff, it's like, there's nothing but your mind just racing and just telling you things. You start feeling like you're going a little crazy, which I think I am now. But
well, is that something you kind of like for prep? I mean, did you kind of like go, okay, I'm gonna be by myself for a while?
I'm a loner. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Being by myself doesn't bother me.
But you seem like a guy that, like, because you're an engineer, you plan everything, man. So I mean, you've got to had to plan that.
Pre-plan that, but there were points in the trip where I'm like, I don't think I've talked to people for like 3 weeks. Like, you start going like, you're like, when was the last time you talked to me? Like, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but like, I know I've told some people this, but literally there was one day I was driving down the edge of a mountain trail, maybe a track and a half wide, and there was I came across a bunch of cows walking up the trail. And I literally, without thinking, raised my hand and waved to the cows. And then I looked and I was like, what did I just do? Like, this is not right.
Yeah, they're not going to wave back.
The cows? Like, maybe it's because I saw more cows on my trip than I saw humans, you know, like, but you start thinking you're going crazy, and
I'd
you
start
know,
looking at those cows like they were a hamburger or something. Like you see in the cartoons when people are going crazy, they start seeing them as their food.
Oh, I had plenty of food. That's one thing I made sure I never even came close to running out.
Right. So that's another part of this to think about, man. Your meals and how you kind of plan that a little bit, because you're definitely limited on space. You had I'm assuming an ARB fridge freezer with you.
I had my Ironman, which nowadays I would buy a ARB versus the Ironman. I just got it on such a good deal in my vehicle, so that's a 50 quart. And then I had the 72 quart. I don't even know how to pronounce the name. Wynter, WYNTER, whatever it is. You can kind of get them all over now. They're one of the lower budget fridges, and that was a dual zone. So I had a fridge and a freezer in that. So I made sure, I mean, at all times, I probably at least had a week's worth of food.
Mm-hmm.
And if I maxed out with like frozen food, refrigerated stuff, and then canned stuff, which adds a lot of weight.
Yeah,
but don't need refrigerate.
That and a lot of disposal. You got to dispose of stuff, and
well, you if you start thinking of all the water in all the cans, that weight right there just adds up so much versus like frozen vegetables, you know, canned vegetables and stuff. And like, I didn't really go the fresh produce route because it gets beaten up so fast and just bruised and destroyed, where you're like, and when you're traveling in some of these areas, there's no such thing as a fresh produce. Like, they're like, it's canned or frozen. Like, those are your two choices. Like, there's some little stores I walked into. It's like, you don't go buy a quart of milk, you get dry milk.
Right.
And actually, through the trip, I just started trying to find that in a store, just dry milk, because like if I used it right away or didn't, it was still good.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're using it in cooking, some people say they can taste it and all that stuff, but you get used to it. And I actually still to this day cook with it.
Wow.
Because like I got so used to it on my trip, where it's like dry milk, there's no water, it never goes bad. Like I can use it to help make some hot chocolate if I'm cold in the morning, or I can use it to make some scrambled eggs or whatever, you know.
Right.
So that's the big thing, you know, with the food. And
well, how did you look on your trip because you started, of course, we'll say at my house that time, so you were around lots of convenience if you needed things.
Yes.
The further you're going west, you're starting to lose some of those conveniences.
Yes.
And was that a thought though early on of like, okay, I know for a while I'm gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean, you had that thought early on, but also being around those conveniences, it taught you like, this is what you need, this is how you pack, this is what I can fit. So when you walk into a grocery store, you look and see everything you have, you make your list of what you want to get, but you know how much. So if they have like chicken in 2-pound bags or 5-pound bags, you can be like, okay, I can fit 5-pound and a 2-pound. You know, I can't fit 2 5-pounds, because once you buy it, you walk out, you can't just walk back in and return food. You know, like
right.
So what do? Just give it away to someone and just waste all that money? Or the one time I screwed up was I bought a ton of like frozen chicken breasts in Canada, and it didn't cross my mind because I already went between Canada and US like twice already, like both ways. And I literally hit the border and they said, is the chicken marked on where it was made, like produced?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's one region in Canada where if it was produced there, you can't bring it into the US.
Oh, wow.
And me being me, I reorganized it and put it all in like self-serving like bags, and so you could fit it better. I literally had to turn over, I think it was like 7.5 pounds of frozen chicken breasts.
Oh, wow.
And it's just like, at Canadian prices, that was probably honestly $40.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I literally looked at the guy and went, I'm honestly thinking about going, sorry, no, turn around, and freaking just cooking it and handing it out and eating it.
Yeah,
you know, like, because you know that's what they did. They went, yes, we could cook and eat all day, all week, because it was frozen, so it's good. And so another time when I was getting close to, I think I was going back into the U.S. from Canada into the continental U.S. Like I was like getting low on chicken. Like one night, literally, I just ate like 2.5 pounds of freaking chicken breast. Like because I'm like, I am not gonna waste this much again,
Right.
And I never realized that, going across the border, they'll ask you questions at some borders they didn't even ask you at others,
And that's stuff you can't plan for.
No, he honestly would have never found it because he would have been like, check out, I could have shown him the fridge in my vehicle. Nothing there.
And that's stuff you can't plan for those kind of issues either. I mean, you've got to just kind of go with the punches, I guess, a little bit.
Yep. They're in charge, and if you want to keep on going and enjoy your trip, you just kind of got to do what they want,
Right.
That was really the only border I crossed where they actually, like, inspected my vehicle and trailer. Like, they actually looked through it. Like, enough where I had to, like, lift up the bed and show them the cabinets underneath the bed and, hey, look, it's just motor oil and tools down here,
Right. No cocaine, we swear. I'm not bringing it up.
That's more weed up there.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I'm not a pack mule, guys. Come on.
Yeah, it's just like, and me being me, not really shaving or doing anything on the trip, you look more and more like that weird homeless hippie pack mule from the 70s, and they're going, let's start inspecting this guy. But you do get weird questions at borders, though. Like, where they're surprised, are you carrying a firearm? No. Why not? Like, wait, are you concerned that I'm not, or do you want to know if I am? Like,
Well, that's another question, man. I don't know that you're a gun advocate or anything or against them or whatever, but at some point, self-protection when you're planning a trip like this has to be an issue too, or at least come up in planning, right?
The thought does. And I don't want to get too much into it because there's going to be so many people on different sides
sure.
of it, but I'm not pro-gun and I'm not anti-gun. Right. As in, like, I don't own any, but own as many as you want.
Sure.
Like, the only time on my whole trip where I kind of wish I had a firearm was in your home state. No, not your home state, but your state, Tennessee. Right. We talked about that in the first one with all the meth heads and all that stuff.
But as far as animals or anything, I mean, that never crossed your mind?
When it comes to animals, people argue so many different things, but honestly, go talk to people up in Alaska. Yes, they carry like a 45. They don't carry like a 500 Smith & Western, And the biggest thing about the gun is hopefully it'll deter the animal from attacking you.
Right. Just so you're looking for loud noises, basically. If it
decides to attack you, your gun ain't gonna do shit against it. Let's admit it. Unless you're like that top 2% of shooters in the world. Like, because, I was watching a video on YouTube and Facebook the other day of wild boars attacking hunters.
Yeah.
And
they'll tear you up.
You're talking about 100 to 250 pound boar. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's now look at a moose or a grizzly. Yeah. If you just look up the kill shots on a grizzly, there is no kill shot from dead on when it's charging you.
Yeah.
The kill shots are from the sides. So, and I don't know, the one saying I kind of read and kind of agree with is like, basically, do you want to die with the animal dying right next to you? Mm-hmm. You may shoot it and maybe a fatal shot, but it's going to kill you before it actually dies, like when it comes to those large animals.
Right.
So you're better at figuring out ways to deter the animals. So what I did is I spent my time researching on how let's not attract a grizzly into my campsite. Don't cook right where you're camping. So when I pulled into a campsite for the night, oh, look, I'm going to do the campfire over there, cook on top of it over there, do all my washing of my dishes over there, and sleep over here. Yeah, the grizzly may come, but he's 100 feet away. He's not trying to bust into my camper. You know.
So because you had a little kitchenette in the back of this thing, so you had to move around and. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's, God, I keep thinking of what it was like to plan this thing, but it's like you could say there's like 5 or 6 major things you got to look for, and then all the little sub items, that little spider web off of each major thing, you know.
Well, I brought, what did I have? 3 cans of bear spray, a couple of air horns, you know, like, because I mean it's statistically proven bear spray works better than gun if you're actually being attacked. So like in my kitchenette, when I was back there and I opened, there was a can of bear spray mounted. I had one right next to the main door where I was sleeping, so if I woke up, the easiest place for them to break in would be the door, so it was right near there. And then I had one in my driver's seat, right next to my driver's seat.
Right.
And then air horn. I never used it in the bear spray. I did use the air horn once because I don't know what it was. Big animal outside making noise, just blew the air horn, and they ran off. Because most of the time they're just curious and they're just wandering around. And a lot of times they may not realize someone's sleeping right there. They may smell you, but they may not know you're actually inside that thing right there. They just think it's another part of nature, you know?
Right. So at the border, they're like, hey, why are you not packing? And you're like, I think I'm okay, man.
Well, they asked about bear mace and all that stuff because, like, there's different regulations of it. Luckily, the further north you go, the more potent it can be, the more all this stuff. So, because, like, in parts of Canada, you can't actually have, like, mace, regular mace, like, but you can buy bear mace. It's kind of weird about, like, all this stuff. So, yeah.
That's weird. So you had your repairs, and instantly, I think before we started talking about this, you were like, hey, that's going to kill parts of the trip now because that's cutting into your budget, right?
Yes, that cut a huge amount into my budget. I mean, it was $2,000, you know. Thank goodness for Boulder Nissan. They gave me some discounts on it. They helped me out. They actually got me in. Like, I literally I was in Colorado driving up to Denver, which Boulder's just a little further north. And as I'm driving up, I called them up. They got me in, I think it was the next day. You know, like, which I've called them before. Well, since then, they don't have openings like that the next day. Right. You know, so they got me in. I don't know who worked their magic, Amy or Joey or who there, you know, but someone worked the magic because, I mean, it's not like it's a 1-hour job, throw up on a lift and check some stuff out.
Sure.
That it's literally took a mechanic all day long. You know, his whole day was pretty much changing it out. You know, you had to pull the transmission.
Well, that and Boulder's Boulder's more of a high-end area, so that those people aren't going to wait around. You know, it's hard to squeeze you in.
I literally came in to Denver, dropped off the trailer, slept, drove up there the next morning, and hung out for part of the day as they did the repair, got picked up. Literally, it's like I got back to where I was staying over at Insane. They pretty much called and said, hey, it's done. It's like, holy crap, really? You know, like that went quick, but they threw their best mechanic at it, you know, which also is kind of like, huh. Like, you know, like they kind of, I know they did a lot of magic, so I had to give them props for like rescheduling or making other people do stuff. Hey, this guy's on this crazy trip. Let's get it done, you know?
So ultimately, how long did that little pit stop slow you down?
That one, I want to say I spent a week in Denver. That time. It wasn't necessarily the pit stop. I got some other stuff done. I got roof rack built during that week's time.
Right.
I just went through my vehicle, did a lot of repair, not maintenance more than repairs, you know.
Right.
Because you can do the stuff on the trail, but when you have a shop sitting right there with a lift, takes a lot less time. You go through the trailer, and the other big thing is reorganize everything. You're like, as you pack initially, you're like, oh yeah, this is a great spot for this. I'll need this all the time. Then when you're on a trip like this, you're like, I've never used that. Let's throw it in the trash or like bury it on the bottom. You know, let's reorganize. I know what I need now. I know where I want things more. You know, a place like that, like being able to stay at someone's house and eat their food and take showers every day. You're like, okay.
So you stayed at Corey's then, right?
Yes, yeah.
So
I
so
stayed at
did you get
Culver's.
the basement hotel, the little
Oh, and the other thing no, yeah, that time I did get the basement hotel,
yeah.
but not the next time.
Oh, okay.
But the other major thing I forgot is we repaired my rear bumper during
Yeah,
that week.
yeah. Yeah, cuz
You know,
because
so
you
it was temporarily repaired. So we literally pretty much cut off some stuff, readjusted it so it didn't quite look as bad, and then
yeah.
just welded the
Because
fucker on
because
like
your
no other.
your Arkansas crew just kind of got you sort of sort of fixed, right?
They did a good job, but it wasn't a professional job. Like, it didn't look professional. It
Mhm.
basically like, let's weld a bar on here, weld a plate across it. That'll be strong enough.
Right.
This was like literally reshaped the frame back
Mhm.
closer to the back to the original, and we pretty much built a sleeve over the frame from the bumper. Like, I would probably have to cut off 8 inches, 8 to 12 inches of my frame to like remove the bumper now.
Mhm.
Like, it's not going anywhere. So that was a big part of that. I almost forgot about that, the fun part. But yeah, and so
Well,
it's just nice. And then I also helped out in the shop some because like it's like I paid Corey some, but he also fed me and put me out up in his house without his wife's knowledge. Which,
Great.
if anyone actually knows Corey, happens quite a bit. But so I woke up the next morning and met his wife. Like, and
Oh,
she had
hi.
no idea I was staying there.
Oh, how wow.
But anyone who knows his wife knows how friendly she is, and
Right. Right. So I mean, and that was a good pit stop to you too, because you kind of like you said, you got to reorganize, probably rethink a few things, and just
yeah, you have access to high speed internet. Like, you
Mhm.
don't think about it, but like, how many times in just a small road trip, you pull into that McDonald's or that Starbucks and you hook up to their Wi-Fi, and you're like, screw this, like their Wi-Fi sucks. Let's go back to.
Right.
But like when and you had so I could start checking out maps, and go, okay, this is how I'm gonna get back down to where I was. This is, there's this potential with the road. This is where all the forest fires are going on, because that's the other major thing is that summer, half of Canada, 3/4 of Alaska, and like the whole western coast burned down. Like, so it's like you had to avoid forest fires. So where are they going? How can I avoid these?
Right. So that was a concern, and once you got up there, it did reroute you a little bit.
Not right then, but there were points where I did reroute. After that week, I ended up going back to southern Colorado. I went to Mesa Versa. I forget how to pronounce it. It's the area with all the cliff dwellings.
Mm-hmm.
All the there's a lot of famous stuff like on the side cliffs. These natives basically built like their homes and stuff, carved them out rocks on the side of cliffs, and it's awesome. Then I went over to Moab for my first time ever. Did the Moab experience solo, which I don't know if I would recommend to a lot of people, but did that, and then basically as soon as I left Moab, I ran into more problems. So I actually ended up going up to, well, there's just so many repairs in that 4-day period of time is a nightmare. I couldn't get into Fort Low anymore, so I had ABS issue there. I had a rear axle shaft slide out on me, so my only thing that kept the tire in was the caliper, which got grounded down.
Right.
And then ended up not being an ABS issue, ended up being a neutral park safety switch in my transmission transfer case, which most people are like, oh, no big deal. Well, it's not the one by the shifter, it's the one in the case.
Right.
And I'll let anyone know this. Thank goodness I was a manual, because I had to clutch cancel and I could start my vehicle. If I was an automatic, my vehicle would have not started where it was.
Right.
So then I ended up going actually up to Salt Lake City to Fat Bob's Garage, is like talked to people there. They told me they could fix it. I didn't know what the problem was.
Mm-hmm.
So they hooked up to diagnostics. They called their local dealer. Basically, their local dealer told them it was a $1,500 part. All this whole stuff. They replaced all the Heims and everything else on my vehicle, but they never repaired that. And then I paid that hefty bill. They gave me a lot of discounts and stuff, so I gave them some credit, but they didn't actually work on the one thing I needed replaced. So what I did is I literally left there at like, what time was it? It was like 5 o'clock, and all day I was researching online, and I'm like, it could be this neutral safety switch. It could be. So I called up Boulder. They're like, we don't have one in stock. The only dealer west of Mississippi that has one is like, they gave me the name of the dealer. I looked up that dealer. Literally, it was 20 miles from where I was at.
Holy cow.
So as soon as I got out of Fat Bob's, I booked it over to the dealer, which I already talked to them and bought the part and told them, give it to your salesman because the part department will be closed by the time I get there.
Mm-hmm.
Picked it up, and that night, and I drove most of the way actually back to Denver.
Really? So
Yeah.
did you end up having it repaired back at Boulder?
Yes, because I could have repaired it right then on the side of the road, I guess, but there was no guarantee this was actually the problem.
Right. And there's no way getting further. Well, you don't want to get further away from people you know, and you're guessing.
Yeah, and with the whole experience in Utah in that area, I didn't trust any of the dealers there.
Mm-hmm.
So the way Nissan works is you have to go to your closest dealer to warranty it. Definitely if you get towed.
Mm-hmm.
Which I did get towed in that time frame. I forgot about that. I got towed to get the rear axle shaft replaced. But so I drove because if I replaced it wasn't that and I fucked something else up, I would have been stuck dealing with these dealers under warranty, possibly. Who knows? With my modifications, they can void whatever they want in Utah. Or I know I could go back to Denver and know people and have a place to stay and all this stuff. And actually, while I was in Salt Lake was the only time I actually spent a night in a hotel on my whole trip.
Right.
Because when my vehicle got towed, I went with the vehicle, but we couldn't tow the trailer because of how my hitch was set up.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do with the trailer?
I literally trusted a mom and pop tire change spot place that's where I was the closest place that potentially could inspect and plug into my vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And I trusted it in their back lot, you know?
Right on.
And I waited there all day it's just a small town in Utah, for the local tow truck guy to get done with his coffee, his donut, then his lunch, and then blah, blah, blah. And I got towed up probably about 4 o'clock that afternoon up towards Salt Lake. It wasn't quite there to the nearest dealer. Got my vehicle dropped off. Dealer was closed. So I had to go walk literally to a hotel, stay the night there, walk back to the dealer in the morning, and wait all day in the dealership as they see if they were going to warranty replace my axle shaft or what was going to go on, you know?
Right. So, but for people that don't know, from Salt Lake to Denver is not just like a 30-minute trip, man. So
yeah,
a lot of
Salt
stress
Lake
to get you back.
About 9-hour drive.
Right.
I drove probably, when I took off and stopped at the dealer, I drove probably, I think it was 7 hours. So I drove till about 2 o'clock that morning, stopped in by then I had all my trailer and everything together. I got that all together, and then that night this all happened. It was literally a fuck show for 3 days. 4 days. And so then I literally just pulled off the highway, massive old gravel parking lot with about, I would probably say 150, 200 semis in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just parked smack dab right in the middle of them and fucking went to sleep.
Yeah.
And next morning woke up, drove the rest of the way to Denver, scheduled the appointment in Boulder again. This day it was 2 days out. Whoopee. They did some magic again. I had the part. They replaced it, and they got Nissan to actually warranty the purchase of the part because it fixed everything. So
nice.
It's
But when all this, your 3 or 4 days of just hell, I mean, did it start making you question, man, what am I about to do? Because this is really,
honestly,
really,
it made me go, do I just go, after this is all done, do I just go to Denver and fucking just find a place and park it? Like,
right.
Because, like, I'm getting to the point where civilization is not going to be that close.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a huge, huge decision with my next move, because that time when I went to Denver, I went, do I head back to the Trans-American Trail and finish that going west, or it's actually starting to get kind of past midsummer and Canada's a ways up there and I got a lot of trail to cover before Canada. Do I head north? But if I head north, man, there's not a lot of towns and there's not a lot of people and there's definitely not a lot of Nissan dealerships and stuff like that. So
what in the end, what kind of swayed you to go, screw it, I'm just going to go do it?
What, like just going out again or like going north?
No, just after you kind of got what you thought was probably your last problem done and you're just like, God, can I take any more of this shit? And then it's like, I'm going.
If I park it, I probably would have never finished that trip ever in my life.
Right.
You know, like when you give up on something like that, you you lose the incentive to go out and redo it. You lose the incentive because I had the time.
Mm-hmm.
I had the money currently. And when you just give up and go, okay, I'm going to go out in 2 years, once you get a job again all this time, all of a sudden it's 6 years, 10 years, 12 years. All of a sudden you have kids, wife. All of a sudden you're retiring and you're like, man, I really wish I could do that, but I'm too old now to actually do a trip like that. You know?
Right.
And so you kind of just have to. That's part. I tried to, I'm not a smiley person, but in my head I'm smiling. So I just put on a smile in my head and it's like, dude, this is part of the fun. You know, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Other people say I get frustrated on trails during breakdowns. Me personally, I don't think I am at all. Like, I think I see everyone else is frustrated. I'm just like, whoopee! Like at Wint, Trail 39. I think I had the funnest time on the trail. Everyone looks back now and goes, yes, that was awesome. But I was on the trail going, we're going to look back and just say this is awesome because of my trip. Because of that experience of my trip of breaking down, having to fix it, just being part of it. And I used that at Wint, you know, that experience of who gives a shit. At some point, I learned how to go, I don't give a shit anymore. Just fucking keep on going.
Yeah. Well, that whole Wint show, I need to get you and Luke together and do a show just on Trail 39 because that would be fun because the stress y'all were going through.
There's so many people. I know I think Gruder talked about it a little, but you could get, he talked at that. I mean, there was Luke was on there. There was Gruder was on there. Ryan Miller was on there. I was on there. Both Overly brothers were on there. Like, there was just so many, like, just, like, people you can get on to talk about that. Because, like, because I hear them talking about the wood bridge that we repaired and fixed, and this is all sarcastic.
Yeah.
But, like, holy shit. It's like, I crossed, like, I only know 30 bridges that were worse than that on my trip. Like, they might have not been made out of logs, but those logs were actually decent size. Like, I crossed bridges that were just far worse, or like came to a bridge and there was no bridge.
Right.
So you actually have to go down the ravine and back up or turn around. You know, like that actually put a smile on my face. Or like when the tree was across the trail, like, everyone was like, fuck. You see people pushing. I just open up the back hatch and fucking grab my hand chainsaw and throw at them. They're looking at it like, what's this going to do? Fucking throw over. I'm on one side. I forget, Gruder wasn't on the other side doing his pelvis stance at that time. Someone else was. And we started freaking going at it. And like, we made it a third of the way through that tree in like no time. Everyone was like, holy crap. You know, it's just like that. I know I learned a lot on my trip, but that those experiences and those situations really come out. You know, like when you just looking at the bridge, I was like, there's no problem with that bridge. That bridge is sturdy enough, you know, like I was weighing over 3,000 pounds more going across bridges worse than this, you know. And not to mention, I was still I had the fat ass on that trail, you know.
Well, and they're looking at you too, like, oh, he's an engineer. If he says this, it's all right.
I don't think they were viewing it that way. They were more viewing it as, if this thing gives out, my truck's gone.
Right, right.
Because literally, yeah, that one, if that bridge gave out, whatever truck was on it at the time, if they weren't like just starting to go on or just starting to get off, the truck was down in that ravine.
Yeah.
Not being recovered. I'm sorry. I have a ton of recovery gear. I don't have enough to reach down that ravine.
When I know, like, the stress I was going through, because, you know, and we'll get back to your thing in a minute, but all the problems I was having down at the event area, you know, dealing with Nissan and stuff, and you guys are up there having those problems.
That was, no offense, your problems. I don't know if it crossed Luke's mind. Was nowhere in my mind.
Right. No. I'm saying
I totally forgot Nissan was showing up for the Rock Challenge.
Yeah.
Because to me, I was going, well, everyone's gonna have to wait for the Rock Challenge because we're all on this trail. Like,
right.
Tomorrow. But I didn't think. It just didn't cross my mind because we were just trying to do every little obstacle. Crap. Nissan's there waiting for us. Like, if it probably would have. There might have been a certain point in the trail I would have just looked at everyone and been like, when half the group turned around, been like, yeah, let's turn around. I was just like, I'm down for staying the night. I said that a few times on the trail. Like, that type of stuff wouldn't bother me sleeping in my truck.
What was funny was when I finally talked to Jenna and all that and kind of heard where you guys were at, and then I talked to some people within Windrock, and they were like, that's the one trail that we don't recover people from. If something happens there, you're on your own. So
I will say this, dude, if we don't run that trail next year at Wint, I will be highly disappointed. Like,
I've heard so many people talk about wanting revenge for that trail.
But we definitely, I mean, that trail, okay, whatever the other difficult trails are, or extreme difficult, whatever that group's going to be called, that trail, there's going to be a list of stuff that your vehicle needs and in certain condition and spare parts. And I'm sorry, people, if you don't have it, you ain't going. I mean, I ripped the oil drain plug out of my oil pan on that trail.
Mm-hmm.
I have skid plates. Like, it's 1 in a billion shot for that rock or stick, whoever did it, to go up there, hit the drain plug, rip it out, but not put a hole in the pan.
Right.
Through the little drain hole in the skid plate.
Well, and we got to hear you on the last or the Wint podcast. We got to hear you repairing all your damage too, so that was nice.
Hey, there's some things I view more important than other things.
That's right. No,
get my vehicle up and running.
No, it was nice, man.
I did notice you cut out the whole part of me and Gruder yelling at each other back and forth over the noise.
Oh, did you? I don't remember, man.
You don't remember?
No, I seriously don't.
Or I don't know if it was recorded. All I recall is like I was under there freaking impacting stuff.
Yeah.
Gruder turns around and starts yelling at me like, "We're doing a podcast over here." Blah,
I remember that now.
I just started yelling back and I'm like, I'm repairing my vehicle. I don't give a shit about the podcast. I mean, it was all fun and games.
Yeah. He was just being fun with you on that, man.
Yeah, I was doing it too. But like, I was listening to the podcast. It's like, I don't recall hearing that part. There's probably too much cursing from my end. Gruder can keep his mouth clean, but I can't.
Right. But yeah, I have heard like several people going, man, I am going back to conquer that trail. So
people forget with all the stories, there's half the group that turned around.
Yeah.
So there's us. There's the group that finished. There's like, we want to go back. We want to do it better. We want to conquer that trail and make it look a lot easier this time.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the other group that turned around that I'm sure a lot of those people are like, I want to go back and actually see these parts they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, where is this wood bridge? Because next year, it may not be there.
Yeah.
It may be a big hole, and guess what? You have to build your bridge.
Well,
you know, like...
Well, that's kind of the difference between like gone and when is like we deal with natural soils that are always eroding. You just never know what you're gonna see.
Like you could go a weekend and then go home for the week, work, go back the next weekend at wind, run the exact same trail, and they might have groomed it. It might be the easiest trail in the world, or it might have rained, and you might not even be able to come close to doing it. And last
Right.
time you just walked through it.
Right. Well, I mean that is cool though, like how you were saying, and I didn't even at the time think about like how your trip really has now impacted future wheeling for you.
Well, it's more than wheeling. It's parts of life. Like
Right.
right now, with my whole job situation, like I'm working places. Yeah, I'm working at NISTech, and I occasionally help out still at Insane Fab with like just kind of CAD drawings and stuff like that. But I'm still looking for that full-time engineering job, higher pay, so I can actually save up money and go on another trip. Let's be honest.
Right.
But in the past, I'd be freaking out right now. Like my bank account's going down and not up.
Right.
And I'm literally going, I really don't give a fuck. Like I could go pack up my Xterra and move 1,000 miles south and live out of it for the freaking like winter. Like it wouldn't bother me. Like just having that mentality to just go, fuck off. I don't give a shit.
Right.
You know, like that's a mentality a lot of people don't have. But also having that mentality, like, yeah, let's go camping. Okay. And I haven't been camping this summer. I have to say, like, I went 146 days last summer.
Yeah.
This summer I haven't gone once.
In your one summer, you've camped more than most people do in a lifetime. So.
Well, it's kind of weird. Like there was a post on Facebook that kind of got some traction. It was like in the overland and other communities, like try to get out. I think it was 52 days camping, 52 days this year, which basically meant 1 day a week through the year. So if you go for a week and during the summer or a weekend, that you can build up your time. And like I remember being on my trip and that going, man, 52, that's trouble for some. I am 142. Then this year I'm at 0. I'm like just not too busy to do it, but too busy doing other things.
Right.
I'm back in society and stuff, and every once in a while I do catch myself watching TV. I'm like, what am I doing watching TV? It is such a waste of time. I could be reading on the internet, not Facebook, actually educating myself.
You listen to that podcast then.
Any subject, listening to podcasts, educating myself.
Right.
I could be designing something. I could be looking for a job. I could be off wrenching on a vehicle. I could be camping. Like, why am I watching TV? Like, I don't follow sports anymore. Any of them at all.
Oh, by the way, your Green Bay Packers lost today.
I don't give a shit. Like
my Titans beat them, man.
I'm the only person from Wisconsin, I think, that doesn't give a shit about the Packers. Like, let's be honest. Like, anyone who's been to Wisconsin would realize, or knows people from Wisconsin, realize how big of a deal that is.
Right.
But like, why am I cheering for other people to do stuff when I can be doing it?
Right.
Like, that's kind of how I view stuff. And like, I know a lot of people don't have that mentality, but like, it definitely has changed a lot of stuff in like my actual world, like, and how I perceive things, like I forget, like I'll be filling out a job application, researching the company and stuff, and like see like some type of there was one small startup company, they had some type of sarcastic remarks in there, and so I just redid my whole cover letter and basically it was 100% sarcasm for probably a page. Like, who cares? Like, they want to hire me or not,
Yeah, and that is a blissful thing, man. I remember, of course, in my mundane life of corporate America, but anymore it's like this new company I'm with, I'm just like, if they hire me, they hire me. If they don't, I just don't care. I'm gonna my heart's gonna keep pumping. I don't care.
Yep, and you'll figure a way to survive and keep on moving. It's like, I don't know. There's a lot of people out there that have just been in corporate America, and like, in that drive since they were in kindergarten. Go to school, go to college, corporate America. Then you retire. You just watch them when they retire. They have no idea what to do.
Right, because they've never lived.
They've never done anything truly for themselves. They've always done stuff because other people set goals. Their parents wanted them to get this type of career or a good job. Maybe not even that specific, but a good job, so they did. Then the company wants them to succeed and make them more money and so forth. So they just work up that chain, you know. And yeah, they've never experienced that like utter freedom of being in the middle of Glacier National Park by yourself at 3 a.m, you know, on the Sunset Drive, just looking up the stars going, oh, I hope a grizzly doesn't come eat me. Who cares? You know, taking pictures of the stars and seeing all the mountains with the slight moon, a sliver of moon out, you know, so you can barely see the mountains in the horizon, you know, all around you. But yeah, I mean, this guy changes stuff.
Definitely, man. Well, this is a good place. Let's put a pin in this one, and we'll get to the next episode traveling on, man. But I really think this was awesome to kind of like, I mean, just this episode just seems like the overall life of what you did, you know, the ups and downs and how to prepare. So next time I think we'll pick up from Denver. I'm hoping to Canada at some point.
So just a little, I'll give a little spoiler, but not too much. So I leave Denver, making the decision either go back to the TAT or head north, and I decide to head north to Canada.
Nice. So we'll leave.
So that includes Yellowstone, Glacier National Park, the Tetons, and then British Columbia. I mean, come on, who can't enjoy that?
That's right, dude. And maybe we'll see if you make your goal to the northernmost part of Alaska. And,
who knows? It's quite a ways up there.
I was gonna say, but
winter's coming. I think that's the saying nowadays.
Yeah. So, anyways, man, I appreciate you being on again, and from the podcast studios, or the dungeon, as Danny likes to call it now. We'll chat with you again, Derrick. There you have it, guys. That is part 3 with Derrick Metz. You can find him on all kinds of social networking pages. I forget, overlanding. I forget. He's big on Instagram, overlanding. I'll have to look it up, and I'll put it in the show notes. But once again, we greatly appreciate all of our listeners, man. Be you in the UK. We've got people in South Africa. It trips us out, man. Me and Danny feel very blessed that you guys continue to listen to us almost 2 years later. Put that in perspective, man. Almost 2 years later, we've been doing this show. So we've had some crazy ups and downs, man, and you guys have definitely filled our hearts and brought us lots of adventures, with whether we've met you in an event, or just got to know you on Facebook or whatever. We do greatly appreciate it. Be sure, like I said, Amazon, hit our buddy, if you're into the Nissan off-road world, hit our buddy over there at niztechlifts.com up. Mr. Chris Tech, as I like to call him. If you need some something cool, maybe lift your sweet ride, give him a call. Other than that, guys, that's the show this week. We're going to do our Christmas special. It'll be out the 1st of December. I don't know, man. We just like talking to you guys. So leave us some kind of feedback. Go to our Facebook page, leave us feedback. Go to our website. You can actually click on that and leave us notes, whatever you guys want us to talk about, man. We're willing to head down that path. If you got a kick-ass car, we love talking cars. It's just you guys seem to be hard. You car guys are hard to get in with. I've been talking to the guy with the Z, man, the off-road Z. I've hinted at it before, and our schedules haven't aligned. That should be pretty fun. And we've got Christmas, man. Time to open up presents. And I'm sending Danny something special. It's I probably can't talk about it on the podcast, even though I'm talking about it. But yeah, man. So we're all about the fun, and we are all about the Nissan brand. So for everybody here at the Nissan Nation podcast, I want to say big love to everybody. And we are out. Peace, y'all. Love y'all.